Hello TCH209. This video is to describe the initial assessment report assignment. When you are in this folder on the Google Drive, you will see there are 4 documents for this assignment description. The planning sheet, the rubric, the actual report doc assignment description, and then this is part D of the paper, the text log. So we're going to first look at the planning sheet. When you open the planning sheet, you can see here this is a document for you to use to keep track of the information you're getting while assessing your student. And you can take notes here. You can put down ideas for goals you see formulating as you're assessing your student and analyzing the data. You can also begin to write down some strategy ideas as you are viewing strategy presentations from other groups or getting ideas for strategies to use with your student. The second item in this folder is the initial assessment report rubric. When you click on that, you can see this is the rubric by which you will be assessed for your paper that you create. And you have the appropriateness and analysis of the assessments that will be looked at closely. That's part A of the paper. The relationship between the assessment findings and the goals. That is how you connect the analysis you did and the findings to the goals that you've set for the student. Then you have the instructional strategies and activities and goals. So based on those goals are the strategies you chose and the activities you plan to use for your lesson plans appropriate. And then, of course, mechanics. I'm going to skip the actual assignment description and click down here on the text log. And for part D of your paper that you will see in the assignment description, where you are going to be researching 10 books to use with your student while tutoring, this is the document where you will list those books following these headings. And this will be the last section of your paper right before the bibliography. So to go back to the initial assessment report, this is the description for your paper. I'm just going to read through each section of the paper. We will be looking at an example paper together. But your first part of your paper is where you are going to describe the results of your assessment. You're going to analyze all of the assessments, formal and informal, and describe these things. This is basically telling me about your student in the first paragraph or two. So what you know about your child's reading development, what they know about the different areas of language arts. You're also going to describe to me what your child knows about writing and the other language arts. Tell me who they are as a person. You're going to play a game with them initially to find out their affective needs, so tell me about that and what you learned about them as a reader and a writer. Then you'll move on to describing their reading development and what you learned from the assessments for reading. Next, you'll move on to describing what you learned about their writing development. So what you learned from the MISCU analysis, and then what you learned from the 6 traits of writing as an assessment for the writing sample that they gave you. Next, you're going to move on to their strengths and needs when it comes to one of the other 4 language arts, the listening, speaking, viewing, and visually representing. You're going to choose one of those 4 that you choose to focus on beyond reading and writing, and you're going to discuss the assessments that you did, and then the results of those assessments and the analysis of that data. You're also then going to discuss the child's affective needs, information you learned from the game that you played with them, plus everyday conversations that you had as you got to know your student. You're going to give examples. You're going to give specific numbers for data when it comes to the different types of assessments within each of these sections. when it comes to introducing your student, reading information, writing information, your other language art information, and your affective information. Now you're going to need to save all copies of any assessments that you did because you're going to be turning those in with your paper. In Part B of your paper, you're going to be listing 2 goals each for reading and writing, and then you're going to have 1 goal for one of the other language arts, choosing one of the 4 listed here. And then you're also going to have 1 goal for the child's affective needs, which we will discuss in class. Part C is where you list the strategies that you plan to use with the goals that you set. List what might be done with the student, and then what texts you might use for particular strategies. Now, having said this, I want you to notice that in bold here it says sections B and C can be presented in list or outline form. So that indicates you should combine sections B and C. So state 1 reading goal, and then the 3 strategies you plan to use with that reading goal you list right under that goal. The same for the second reading goal, and the first writing goal, and the second writing goal. You have 4 goals there total, 2 for reading, 2 for writing, with 3 strategies each for those goals. Then you have 1 goal for another language art, and then you'll just research just 1 strategy for that goal, 1 goal for their affective needs, and 1 strategy for that affective goal. Combining those 2 in outline form, sections B and C. The last section of the paper is, as I mentioned, that text log table that I mentioned earlier. You'll find that in the last link on the assignment description page from the Google Drive. You can use books that you experienced in your TCH 208 class, but you're going to find 10 texts that you can use, either the child reads during your tutoring sessions or books that you would read aloud to your student. Research 10 texts. You're basing that on the student's reading level. You're also basing it on the student's interest that you learned from your Getting to Know You games, and you're going to list those in the log. In addition to that, you will have a works cited or a bibliography at the end of the paper listed in APA style. You will need to have 4 academic sources on that bibliography. Good luck on your paper.